moment. The meeting is called to order at 6:02 p.m. Can we have roll call?
Certainly. Vanessa Apotheker, present. Michelle Goldsey. Alex Palazzo. Don Eckstein.
Here.
Sean Fee.
Here.
Ronald Goff.
Here.
Colette Kino. Here. Don Mizell.
Here.
Martin Rexo. Solomon Schoonover.
Here.
Anna Bratsinas. And Chair Oglesby.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you can take a minute to review the minutes from our last meeting, the emergency meeting on May 7th. Do you have any edits or changes? We're just reviewing the minutes. How are you? All right, hearing no changes, can I have yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's gonna make a
Hearing
motion.
no changes, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
It's gonna make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, we'd like to welcome, we have Alex back. Oh, vote. Oh, vote. Okay, roll call vote for this.
I'll be doing a roll call, just all in favor.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, at this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Alex up for his presentation on the parks bond.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. It's very evening. Yeah, it came after, it's very evening.
It's okay.
Sorry. That's what happens. So, once again, so we're trying to, so we to use some. I mean. Good person.
Let me share. Great.
So, just to give a little feedback on the history, back in October last year, the board approved using a $2 million to fund the YMCA project, full project on Holiday Park, with $1 million from District 1 and District 2 land acquisition. So the commissioners decided to give that money so they can use for that Holiday Park YMCA pool court. So everything is moving good. The issue is that now the time comes where we need to give them money so they can start working with the project. The issue is, the challenge is that the land acquisition available funding for District 1, which is $3.6 million, and for District 2, which is 3.9, is not yet available because it's part of the last third tranche of money, which is part of the last $60 million of money. So we are coming here to ask him to give you a little update on everything. So this is the YMCA project is supposed to be scheduled to go to the commission for the hearing on June 17th and possibly project transfer on the 30th of this month, right? So I'm missing. Yeah. So basically what we are proposing to the board is allowing us to use those $2 million right now from the accurate interest from the bond. We have available money while we get the last tranche of $60 million of money, so that can be reimbursed back. So this is a resolution that we're providing, public hearing resolution approving this parks bond land acquisition applications, $1 million from District 1 and District 2 to support the Young Men's Christian Association, YMCA in South Florida, in development as well as the park. This is Commission District 2. So again, the idea is to go for the public hearing on the 17th and then a transfer on the 30th. But instead of using Sorry. So instead of using that money right now that is not available on the budget, right now we're proposing to use the interest earned on Series 2022 debt, the second tranche of money, which there's a lot of money available for the office. And again, the reason is because the money is not available now. So the proposed plan is once the third disbursement of money takes place, the land acquisition balances are gonna come to District 1 and District 2, and then we can recover and pay back the money that we use from the interest. That's it. So nothing changes from what you guys approved in terms of using the same land acquisition. It's just we are using a different mean right now while we get the money from the last tranche of money. So the city feel comfortable that we use the money that is available now instead of asking right now to all the 60 million to be released. So to keep spending what we have right now, it's spending. And as soon as we are a little closer to spend everything that we have, then we're gonna request 60 million last tranche to be released, and we can pay and continue with the last portion of the bond. Do you have any questions about what I just proposed?
What is the timeline of that? Do you think of that third bond part being paid back? How long do you think that's gonna take for that money to go back into the districts?
So the last tranche of money, so we think that next year is gonna be a good time to request for that $60 million, so we can keep working with the last stage of the bond.
And that won't disrupt any of the projects with.
No. That those $2 million were just for land acquisition. Are not gonna be used for any particular capital project, just for land acquisition, so not gonna be used for YMCA project. Yes, please.
What are the potential downsides of this strategy? I mean, what this fund are there could be adverse to the approaches we have when we approve.
Right now, none, because right now the money there is interest money that we have there that we need to later pay back some money from that interest. So basically it's sitting down in the account, and we are available to use it to make it to move, to keep moving the money. So right now we have no risk because we still have the 60 million secure there plus interest. There's enough money to cover for everything.
So what is the advantage of what you're trying? What is the purpose?
The purpose
You're
is
just trying to keep it moving.
the purpose is to allow the YMCA to start working with the full work renovation project. For what we committed $2 million for that project.
So you can get it going.
Not getting one project. We want to keep moving the projects and see more progress.
You don't get it going. There are problems that.
First time, the longer it takes, the more costly everything gets. So that project that might be a couple millions now, $3 million could be for a year and a half. So the longer it takes, the worse for the project, completion and the things that we're looking for.
So Mr. Alex, with this transfer, will the work be able to start this year versus next year? Is that correct?
Yes. That's correct.
I do have a question, maybe
Yes.
I missed this in a meeting or whatever. Of course. Is this the moving of the YMCA office, this trunk that's going over here, or this is gonna be a complete new? Okay, I didn't know if one, okay.
Do you want to give a quick summary of that? Does anybody else need that information or
I don't know all the
Okay,
details
yeah.
for that one.
It's a
I know
separate-
some, but I don't want to
yeah,
mix it up.
no
It's something that is not.
it's a separate
Yeah,
block?
So one thing I do want to mention, so you'll start to see. So it's utilize this money so that it's not a debate on action project. I'm sorry.
No, please.
But I'm trying to, I don't quite understand why you're in a position where you have to do this. What is the reason when you don't have the money, why do you have?
We do have the money. It's that the money is not released yet. It's part of the bond was divided in 3 different payments, disbursements. So we got the first one of 80 million, the second one of 60 million. We already are working and spending all that money. And the last one, the $60 million for the last one, has not been released yet. And there's where the money for that acquisition is allocated. So we're just using this
So you
interest,
just being smart
yeah,
about
right,
it. Keep well.
correct.
Hi, so the public, hearing on June 17th, is that approval from the commissioner to move forward with the YMCA construction?
Correct. Basically, it's a public hearing, so it can be approved at the end of the
So
third.
that project is not approved by the commissioners yet.
The project, the allocation, correct.
So the public hearing is to approve the allocation for the project, because, since we're using parks bond money, we have to also, inform the public where the money is coming from, what the money is being used for, and when we expect to use it. So there's also gonna be and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Carl, there's also gonna be a budget amendment that will coincide or correlate with that request as well. And that's, so it's full transparent.
Correct.
Full transparency.
So the idea is to do the public hearing on the 17th, and the budget amendment or transfer to the money on the 30th.
If it's approved.
If it's
Correct.
correct.
Okay. So the project, the construction was approved by the commissioners, it's just the funding, the allocation.
Correct.
Okay, so what I understand, to move forward in this project, you would take money from the land acquisition, and you would put into construction.
And that was already approved by the board by October 2024.
I'm not questioning construction support, but I'm questioning transferring money because the funds are very like specific.
Yes.
Like Patricia just said, and we had to say the money for the land acquisition has to be spent for land acquisition, and now land acquisition can be spent for a full inspection.
Yeah, so the transfer of that $1 million from land acquisition for this project has been approved by the commission. This is just strictly talking about method of utilizing that $2 million. So originally, it's from the land acquisition fund, and it will end up being the land acquisition. But this ask here is to utilize the interest earned on that $200 million bond project, that $2 million, to be reimbursed once we get the third tranche of money.
Okay, so the actual transfer is gonna be from the surplus to the interest, not land acquisition.
It will be an acquisition ultimately, because we're just using the interest to pay right now, because that's the money available. And then when the last tranche is released, we're gonna pay back that reduced market interest.
So the motion, if I can restate, I believe them, oh yeah. Okay.
So do you guys have in the bond project, like in the third phase?
Yes.
Do you guys have the construction of the?
So saying that,
Because like, I understand, my point is like, it's all the money, the 200 million, and the residents said, we wanna playground, we wanna basketball, court, we wanna
Yes.
pickleball. court. I don't recall having a community center.
Yeah, so let me explain that. So, and I
I
get
don't
where,
think
yeah, so I get where,
change
you're- so what happened is, so each commissioner has allocated $7.5 million.
For the
for
land
land
acquisition.
And Commissioner, in District 1 and District 2 said, in order to move this project forward, I'm willing to give up $1 million from my land acquisition fund to funds.
Okay, it was said for the community that the bond value would be like set by the commission, pickleball courts. I don't know, I don't recall having us define the project, including and swimming pool from the bond. Not only questioning, they can do that,
Yes,
So
so
the money for
commissioners
the
have that
commission-
discretion to do that with the.
And if I may, the bond resolutions, we provide an avenue for the commission. Once the project is presented to the board for approval and recommendation, the board approves the, and I believe that was already done. The board approves the project, then it goes to commission. Remember, you guys are an advisory board, so you make your recommendation. Commission either approves, with or without changes or denies the recommendation. But this time they approved the recommendation, but because there was not sufficient funding for the project, then the commission went ahead within the parameters of those resolutions, the bond resolutions, and they took money from the land acquisition pot and transferred it to this project. That's what happened. And yes, they have the authority to do that under the resolutions.
So with that, let me know. So the money with the land position, you can go anywhere. After the land position.
Provided that it is through a public hearing process, it is presented to the commission approves it. So it has to go through that
Okay,
process.
that's what I'm the process. Saying that.
Right.
We're gonna
Well, the
change
project went through the hearing process already. Now it's the allocation of the funds that Alex and Carl are referring to. But yes, you're correct. It needs to be through a public hearing process, both the project approval, so they can amend it, provided it is within the parameters that it is for renovation, construction, improvements of the parts, so they can move money around. So, yeah.
Yes, and for reference, Lauderdale House Landing is another park that we utilize land acquisition funds to fund the project, and also Carter Park.
And I do agree, we probably did, but like I said, those parts were set when we put the referendum for the community, what we're gonna do is, the Carter Park is there, the YMCA wasn't there. So, clearly control for YMCA wasn't there either, original. So now I'm feeling that, not only we're putting additional scope and we're gonna utilize the park, but instead it's gonna be park, and then tennis, and then pickleball. I don't think the YMCA was in the original scope, and now we just shuffling money from the other position, which I understand with the public hearing, you can change that decisions.
Do we have a motion, if I can, Director? Yeah, you don't have any more questions?
Thank
Yeah, because the point, what's in front of us right now is a motion to allocate 2 million from the interest allocation toward this project.
So what's, if we approve it, and it's still.
They still have to go through a public hearing, so they're still, right, and then go to a budget allocation, correct? Commission, it goes back to commission, yes. Yes, so may I have a motion? We can still have discussion, maybe, but may I have a motion?
Motion approved.
You have to say the words.
Motion to approve
Move using 2 million from the interest account to, right, to fund and
This is the name of the interest in case you wanna say it.
motion to approve the resolution, a resolution approving the use of parks bond land acquisition allocation, 1 million from District 1 and 1 million from District 2 to support the Young Men's Fitness Association, South Florida Incorporated Development and Holiday Park.
that would be the, I'm sorry. Can you help us, counsel, with the motion? So I believe the motion is to approve moving, allocating interest earned on the Series 2022 A debt, when he has it top there, or from
That
district.
language at the top?
Similar, yes, you have to kind of blend that. So we have to say where it's coming from. Page 2.
Yeah.
So I know it's difficult to read for me too. And if you look at page 2 of your handout, it has the language in which series of the park bond they're referring to. So it's 3-step motion.
All right.
So like,
Yeah, all right.
The last
A motion to approve using interest earned on the Series 2022 A debt in order to fund the balances for District 1 and District 2 that are not available until the future third bond disbursement. And then once the third bond disbursement takes place, the land acquisition balances for District 1, District 2 will be adjusted, reducing each by 1 million per district, and thus the $2 million will be reimbursed to the interest account.
do we have a second? A second. Okay, any further discussion? May I have a roll call vote?
Sure. Okay, Maker was Schoonover,
Yes.
seconded by Keno.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Schoonover.
Yes.
Director. Yes. Ms. Keno? Yes. Ms. Apotheker? Yes. Mr. Eckstein?
Yes.
Mr. Fee?
Yes.
Mr. Goff?
Yes.
Ms. Rexo?
Yes.
Ms. Ratsinas? Oh, she's not here, forgive me. And Chair Oglesby.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
But you didn't call me.
I did not. Oh. Mr. Mizell? I beg forgiveness. Mr. Mizell? Yes. Okay. Unanimous. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you very much, Alex. Appreciate it. All right, I think we have to introduce Rich Campillo as a speaker, discussing the court.
Good evening, all. How are y'all? No votes here, so this will be easy. So thanks for the opportunity to come and give you an update. Let's put up a presentation.
While they loaded, you might tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Rich Campillo. I am a 11-year resident of Fort Lauderdale. I moved here from Switzerland, where I worked for Nestle for many years around the world. And arrived here, didn't know people, so I started to get involved in the community. I'm a member here of St. Anthony's Church, and got involved in homelessness. They took me under their wings and I'm a problem solution guy. So lots of issues with homelessness, and founded the first mobile shower in Broward County, and worked with Hope South Florida, and now it's at LifeNet for Families. And then found another issue, glasses. So started a program called Glasses for the Homeless, where I collect glasses from the community, clean them, read them, and then give them out. So that program is here in Broward, Pompano, now with Camilla's house in Miami, started in Chicago, and also now in Duke. And shortly we'll be doing it in Boca Raton. And so that's Glasses for the Homeless. And the last thing was during COVID, filed $1 million worth of COVID checks for the homeless. And so happy to have done those things. So just an example of giving back to the community, and then got involved in this crazy sport called pickleball. My wife and I were looking for things to do and meet people in the community, and went over to Holiday Park. And the 70-year-old and 75-year-old said, "Oh, come and play pickleball." No, like probably many of you. And we played, I insisted, and got hooked. And so sport was growing, and had the opportunity to see it was going, and we're not going to have enough courts. And so went to the city and said, pickleball is something real. Do we get behind that as a city? I met a young man named Mr. Carl many years ago, and produced, shared with him a vision of what pickleball could be for the city. And ironically, if you look at this presentation, the date that's crossed out,
2020.
May 27th, 2020. So 5 years ago, almost to the date, presented this to the city about what pickleball was. And I shared it because I was getting ready for the presentation, found it, and said, so let me build. And so all of the faces here are new, but it's been a 5-year journey. And so here, you got that. Yeah, there we go. So this was the 2020 vision that I presented back to the city at the time. And really, it's still something that I'm happy to say that we fulfilled. Fort Lauderdale will be one of the top pickleball centers in the country. This was back in 2020. Develop the pickleball to both meet the local needs and make a sports-related and economic driver for Fort Lauderdale. Let's do it again, the Jimmy Everett, because as you know, Jimmy Everett in tennis was the place where everyone grew in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And we said that we did that once for tennis. Let's do it again for pickleball. And we would capture and grow the base, youth, adults, and then have courts, and then leverage it to an economic development. So not just for fun for everyone, but to help our restaurants, help our hotels, and continue to make Fort Lauderdale this vibrant city that it was. And so happy to tell you 5 years later, if I could hit the slide, this is what we have here. So this is looking on the south side of the park. I don't know how many of you have been to Snyder Park recently. Anyone been to Snyder Park? One. So which is typical. So again, I'm not a local. I came here 10 years ago. I only knew Snyder Park because of COVID. That's where I got my COVID shot. I don't have a dog because that's the other reason that people knew Snyder Park, because of the lake park. So this was the south side of the park, and again, a quick history of the park is that this is in the south east corner. It was used for a variety of things by the city, and so when my partner and I said, we want to grow this beyond the parks that it was, where could we do that? And the city had P3s, and they had used it in a couple of different places, and so we wanted to basically piggyback on that. And this was one area. So this is an area that we developed. We put forward this proposal to the city, and met with this council, met with the commissioners, met with the communities, and developed this beautiful, part of the park. And so we've developed 43 pickleball courts, and really revitalized the south side of the city. Because if you were to look in history, which I did a lot of it, the city and the county have been trying to develop the south side of Fort Lauderdale, but unfortunately had not been successful, and now we're bringing it to life. So this is an aerial view of the 43 courts. Again, I welcome everyone to come and see us. I have these little posters that have our the QR code so that you can see them, and welcome you to come down at any time. The pink court that you might see there is a tribute to breast cancer, and it happens to be Court 18. 1 in 8 women will be impacted by breast cancer. So we have that pink court there. So Snyder Park is on off of 4th Avenue and Perimeter Road. So you know where the Armory is? So you go south at the Armory and the cemetery all the way to the end. Can't go, you'll hit 595, you make a right, and it's right in there, back in that area. Yeah, we have a separate entrance. So what we're doing is we basically have district court. Yes, district court. There's 3 parts of the park. So we have a beach club. So we revitalized the beach. The beach, it was a beach. It was a swimmable beach back in the 70s and 80s. It stopped being a swimmable beach, and it's been basically, it's an old limestone quarry that Mr. Snyder in the early 1900s dug up and had there. So we converted that. We brought sand back in there, and then we brought in palms. So if you come, you'll see the palm trees there, which we saved from a nursery, an old nursery that was sold, and they were going to cut and chop all the trees down. We went down there, we picked them, we created a tree farm with the Parks and Recs department. For a year, we kept the 100 palm trees on the side, and now they're there. So there's a beach club there that has all of these different amenities. Then, of course, we have the pickleball club. And then last, we have Snyder Park. I mean, it's a beautiful park. And really, for those who haven't been over there, take some time to go over there. And what's beautiful about it is that it was untouched. It was left for a long time. And I know a lot about that, the whole park, because part of our agreement with the city was that we could not disturb any ongoing activities. And there's another sport called disc golf. Anyone know disc golf? There we go. So that was a sport. So there were 5 holes on the property where we built. And so our agreement with the city is that we would move those 5 holes so as to not interrupt disc golf. And so that's what I did. So we went out, we hired a leading disc golf designer in America who knew there was such a person, but we found out, and went in there and developed 5 holes with that designer and with the Broward County Disc Golf Association. And so I'm known as Pickle Rich in their forum, and they love what we did with the short technical course. And now it is something that in Broward County and in Florida, people come to Snyder Park to play disc golf. So I'm proud of the fact that, this was not just about pickleball, but it's also Snyder Park, and it's revitalized the park. So 18 weeks, that's all we've been open. We opened January 20th of this year. So this is all of the activities that we've been having at that park. So again, revitalizing the park. And the top left is one that some of the people here may know. It's their regatta, the Plywood Regatta. It's been running for 25 plus years. It was running over at Dania Beach, is where they had it. And then about a month before they were supposed to do it, we get a phone call. It's been canceled. That the Dania Point, and this is at the end of Dania Beach. There's a new restaurant that's been done at the Circle when you go down to Dania on Dania Point Boulevard all the way to the beach. There's two restaurants in there, and so they complained because of the number of parking spots that they were taking, and so they canceled a month. So we got a phone call. We met with them very quickly, and we allowed them to use the beach. And then with the Parks and Rec, we use Snyder Park. So just an example of, again, we're part of this community and happy that we're being embraced by them and giving back. So there's a range of things. There was a casting call for the leading pickleball player in the world. Anna Lee, she was there 2 weeks ago. We had a casting call. We're having a high performance. We have an academy, a world academy, where people will come who want to become professionals in the sport of pickleball, can come here and be in this academy. So we have two people. One is a 13-year-old girl who wants to be a professional. This girl that is the current reigning professional, she's 18. She started at 13. And she moved here with her family from Austin. So they've moved here, new people to Fort Lauderdale because of this. And so on and so forth. We have with the autism, ACE and Autism, they come, I think it's every 2 weeks, and they give lessons to autistic children at the fort. So, you know, just a wide range of things to go out there. So 18 weeks in. And then what you can see is also bringing more news to the city of Fort Lauderdale. Everything is Fort Lauderdale. I chose to come to Fort Lauderdale. I love Fort Lauderdale. I've made it my home. I'm in very proud. So here's some of the articles that have been written about the fort and Fort Lauderdale. All smiles. I really welcome you to come. It's straight down, 10 minutes down 7th, and then becomes 4th. So straight down until you can't go anymore, make a right, and you're at the fort. Come and see me there. But what you're going to find when you get there is all smiles. This is a sport that has really touched America. It's going from 70-year-olds to 12-year-olds. Everyone can play it. It's the only sport where a 12-year-old can beat a 50-year-old and a 50-year-old can beat a 12-year-old playing full out, not holding anything back, no handicap. It's fantastic. And so you can see just a range of our community that's here. You know, we had the Miami, the mascot was there. You have a women's league in the top right. You have just a range. Here's the kids in the regatta on the bottom, and they made the regatta, and they're winning their prizes. And you can see, again, on the middle left here, the whole lake, how it's coming alive. And I think to the folks who are long time, like Carl, like Phil Thornburg, if he was here, it would bring a smile to his face, because this has been not used for 20, 25 years. To have 1,000 people on that beach enjoying, having fun, is really what I think this committee is all about, ensuring that we're capitalizing on all of our parks, whether it's Carter Park, Holiday Park, George English Park, or Snyder Park that nobody knows. The last one is the P3s, and we're not gonna get here into the politics of P3s and all of that, but public-private partnerships. Public-private partnership is where a community has land that they're not going to use, and so people can come in and make us an unsolicited proposal and then build. So P3 has been a huge success for the city of Fort Lauderdale and Parks and Rec. It's a world-class entertainment and pickleball facility that costs the city nothing. We, as investors, put in $30 million to build this facility. It doesn't cost anything to the city. Economic impact over $10 million per year. That economic impact, how that's measured, is there's a hotel tax of 7%. So when we have a tournament, we have 1,200 people playing, 10,000 people coming into the city to watch and watch. So that's where you get the $10 million, and it's also in the restaurants. We have Fort Lauderdale as the epicenter of pickleball in the country. If you go on social media and you look up pickleball, you'll find the fort. So everyone is knowing about the fort and it being here in Fort Lauderdale. Ms. Joy,
P3 project.
It's a P3 project, exactly. So Inter Miami, you know, Inter Miami, the soccer up in Lockhart Stadium, that's a P3.
That's 30 million.
No, that was a lot more than 30 million. Our project here, yes, to build this facility you see there, that's $30 million. So, it's really, yeah, no, it's for profit. There'll be money, and so the city, as part of this agreement, is gets the 1% of our revenue. But this has been a piece of land that the city has been trying to vitalize for many years. Exactly. So it's a win-win. So new recreation entertainment area added to the south corner of the city. And we fulfill the residents' desire for more pickleball courts and experience focus. Because what's happening now, the new generation wants experiences. Kids today, they want experiences. And so 2 weeks ago, we had 900 people on the property doing yoga, doing cold plunges, doing wellness kind of stuff. So it's really diversified. It started as pickleball, but it's just bringing the community together on a part of the city that nobody knew. Unfortunately, you are representative of Snyder Park people. You know, 1 or 2 people have gone down there. The next one. So I welcome you all to come over. We have a free introduction to pickleball that we have been running for weeks. And it's something that you can see the dates there, but if you go on the website, come on down. You don't need a paddle, you don't need a ball, all you need is a pair of sneakers. We will give you an hour and a half introduction to pickleball, what it's about. And then what we're doing is we're creating WhatsApp groups. And so that as beginners, you can then have, oh, we played together, we like each other, you want to play next week, and then you come down and play. So I really do welcome you all. Some other things that we've done is for supporting, again, the community. So the neighborhood support team, they had their annual program down at the old City Hall garage. So we give prizes to there. We had the employee picnic at Snyder Park. Every year there's an employee picnic at Snyder Park. And so we participated in that. All of the employees were welcome to come on to the fort. We gave them a tour, and a couple of them played on the forts. We gave them quick lessons, and we provided a special membership for all employees. So Fort Lauderdale employees all got 25% off membership for a period of time. So again, back to being part of this community. We love that that we're getting people out there. It's the only P3 that has resident discounts. We get 10% off for all Fort Lauderdale residents. First responders also get 10% off, as do veterans. Yes, sir.
So the city gave you the
Exactly right. That's right. That's right.
like please.
It's a long-term license. It's a 50-year license with 2 5-year renewals. So it's 60 years in total. So that's what the fort is about. One more slide here. One more, please. So for those of you that haven't been down there, this is what it was before. It was back of the house for the city, and it was where they brought the seaweed from the Fort Lauderdale beach. It was back of the house of the Parks and Recs, and it was for all the little garbage cans around the city. They would pick them up and store them there in those containers, and then take them to the big dump. So again, I share, because many of you weren't there. This is what it's down there, and I think you would agree that what I showed you where the fort is, it's a beautiful enhancement to the city and what we offer all of our residents and all of the people that are coming in here. So working in the cruise industry, we will be working on excursions, on pre and post excursions for all of the people coming into Port Everglades. So we're doing that. The Convention and Visitors Bureau, Stacy Ritter, who's CEO, has been there a couple of times, and they're super excited because in the hotel and convention industry, the biggest demand they've had is people don't want to go to a convention anymore and play tennis or play golf or go horseback riding or go to the mall. They want pickleball. But yeah. Oh, yeah.
Give me it sound interesting.
Come on,
Something I will eat.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's
I'm sorry
yeah.
to cut his presentation.
Yep,
We
nothing.
have a motion. There's another thing that we need to vote on,
Yep.
so.
So thank you all for asking to come see it. So come on over.
Sorry, for protocol, I'm gonna wait on Amy and Carl. Are we able to adjust the agenda? Because I don't want to lose our board. So can we please move? Okay, thank you. Okay, can I do the motion? At the end. Yeah. Can somebody from the board please make a motion to move outdoor events ordinance presentation to the next item?
A motion to move outdoor events ordinance to the next item.
Do we have a second? Second. Do we need a? Okay, just all in favor. Okay. Thank you. Just take a voice vote. Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you.
And that was seconded by Keno?
Yes.
Yes?
For both of us together here.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I heard
Yes,
you.
yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Solomon. Dr. Carl, it's on you.
All right, good evening. Good evening. I'll just look at you. So on March 18th, we provided a presentation to City Commission regarding the outdoor events ordinance. And in that ordinance, it talks about the increase in fees that was brought to as a recommendation from our budget advisory. And therefore, At that presentation to commission, they recommended that I come to the board to seek your all's recommendation on next steps. And prior to that, you all have seen this particular slide. Actually, you'll see the next couple of slides where this is included in the outdoor event matrix. This is a series of variables that would determine the total impact for a particular event. You go to the next slide. As part of the presentation the last time that I gave this particular board, I kind of went into detail about how that impact was done through the matrix, and just to kind of go through it. If there is road closures, if there's alcohol associated with the event, if there is amplified music, all of those things are notated on the matrix that roll up into a fee. And as you'll see here, if there is a major impact, which we'll only have a few that are considered major impacts, but there's a fee associated with that major impact. And as we kind of delve into this more, we not only, of course, did we come and have a conversation with the board, but we also spoke to the Central Beach Alliance, the Beach Business Improvement District, as well as the March 18th agenda that I spoke about earlier. One of the things I want to point out on this slide is during my conversation with the Central Beach Alliance, they recommended adding a assessment fee to ticketed events. One of the items associated with the Beach Improvement District is they wanted some economic benefit for those events that take place on the Barrier Island that provide that revenue for those needed businesses on the Barrier Island. This here kind of goes into a bit more detail regarding what kind of metric we would use or the bid we propose as far as being able to provide a recommendation as far as economic relief, if you will, for some of these events on Barrier Island. The bid, of course, will be coming, we'll be discussing the specifics of how they're going to determine the impact, but that is just an example there, as you'll see. And so, for example, Tortuga Boat Show, Ocean Soul that will be coming out at the end of this year, those are all considered major events. And as a result, those major events, of course, depending on how the matrix is valued at, they would be paying anywhere in the ballpark of $2,500 per day. Now, what would be a reduction from what the Beach Improvement District would be looking for is to give them some kind of a reduction in that. From the Central Beach Alliance, they mentioned the surcharge of ticketed events. As we kind of move through the rest of the slideshow, this portion will kind of come together a little bit more as it relates to how that could be done. Most of our events, they are runs, walks. A lot of them have tickets. And so the proposal here would be to add $1, $1.50, or $2 to each ticket. So that the city could then generate some more revenue that way. One of the discussions from our presentation on March 18th to City Commission was the fact that there's just too many events, especially on the Barrier Island in the downtown areas. And one of the options here, I kind of listed out a few here of ways that the board is kind of going to be involved as far as what the recommendation would be on how we do that. And so as you'll see here, are we going to limit the number of major events per month per district? Do we want to limit the number of runs, which, it's arguably told that the runs have the most impact because those are where a lot of the roads are closed, where people have challenges getting around the city. Do we want to have a priority legacy events, which are the events that we typically have annually, or newer events? And then do we want to look at structuring it in a way where you only have one event per district per day? Now, as part of commission's direction, I was tasked with coming back to the board and getting the board's feedback on not only the limit of the number of events that we have on the barrier island or the downtown areas. Do we want to have a surcharge for ticketed events? Are we good with the fees associated with the new ordinance? That's part of the matrix. And then do we want to have a bonus structure for our larger scale events like Tortuga Boat Show, and so with that, I want to stop talking and get some questions from you all. Real quick, who is the beach improvement? So they are a board that's comprised of the top 11 hotels on the barrier island, the Westin, those type of hotels there, and they have a tax roll assessment that they have, and they meet monthly, and their role is essentially to generate revenue for the businesses on the barrier island, provide a welcoming atmosphere in the barrier island. They're very similar to an advisory board.
So why, obviously I don't know why they request that, but every day, 25 per day, per day.
So
The community is the one that's not benefiting, the developers and the workers are benefiting. The residents are the ones that are in need because events of time, so I don't accept that.
right, so their thought process is solely for those larger scale things. And so don't get hung up on the rate there, because that's just an example of that. It could be, yeah, right. You could say, no, we like the rate as it is, and they just, have it, or you say, hey, instead of 2,500, maybe 2,000, or 1,500, or 1,000, however you deem appropriate, but that's just an option.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The
The beach. So anything from Sunrise Boulevard to where the Western Hotel is on the southern end of the beach is what the barrier island consists of, that the city manages.
That's on the other side of the beach post.
Yes. Yes, that's once you cross over Las Olas Bridge, that area. And the bid boundaries are from Sunrise Boulevard to the almost by where the Ocean Hotel is.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so I might not be understanding. So looking for a reduction in fees per day, but trying to make it up on a surcharge on the other side.
Right. So there's
So they want the community to pay for it instead of the person who's running the events for them.
So the bid is looking at it from a standpoint of strictly the economical benefits that the barrier island businesses receive. And so they're tasked with, as hoteliers, which is comprised of many of the members on the bid, how can we drive revenue, especially for those slower months of the year, so they can still kind of operate. And so from their vantage point, they're looking at it as, this really helps us, because from heads and beds, from people coming from out of town, from the economic impact from individuals patronizing all the businesses on the barrier island, they're looking at it saying, if we have an event that encompasses this much value, we should consider giving them a reduction. And that's what if we don't? You don't? No, it'll still take place. It's just a consideration that they were made during the presentation I provided to them a couple of months back. That's the feedback that they gave me. I shared it with the commission, and then the commission wanted me to share that with the board for your all's recommendation.
On that commission.
There are the hoteliers, and then there's our staff, Judy Erickson, she's our program manager, she's part of that. And Visit Art is also on it. Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but those two are per day, so 2,500 per day for the event.
Yes.
Let's say I'm doing the coach of the big event, and it's 3 days. That's 7,500 for a city. preparation and the cleanup, it's more than 3 days. But I think it has to prepare, get the police ready, get the staff ready, so clean up after the big events, it's, I'm sure it's taking more than 3 days.
Right, so let me clarify that for you.
You know,
Yeah, so
very reasonable.
I'll give you Tortuga, for example. They typically take up about 24 days. They're charged at 2,500, 24 days.
24 days. Okay, good. So I'm glad because that's.
And yeah,
Stuff.
right. And also keep in mind too, just for the board's benefit, is that for these events, we do require like Tortuga and escrow. So we charge them 110% of the cost of for them to have the event here, which is city services, police, fire, parks, TAN, code. Those fees are baked in, and then if there's any damage that's done during that event, we do bill them as well.
Which is good. I think still there's better reasonable because what I had today, probably not covering the cost for the staff that needs to fund fuels and the equipment that needs help preparation.
Right, and just real quick too, before you go on, is that so the only other fees before this fee is the application fee, which is currently at $200, or if it's late $1,000, and then there's the $500 per day on the same. So that's where it is now. If you have an event on the same, plus city service, of course. So now this is saying you have a $500 fee or the $2,000 late fee, plus depending on the matrix where you stand in, if it's an impact event, limited impact, major impact event, where that fee stands could go from $1,000 per day, $2,500 a day, or if it's no impact, it could be a couple $100. But it just depends on the total impact. So
On the points.
Yep.
Right?
Has the city computed the additional costs or making events in terms of fire, police? You have a number on that? Like, what is the cost to the city for the
Yes.
event of the
So for each event, whether it's large or small, we do invite the board to come in with our outdoor events team. And that outdoor events team has a representative from fire, code, police, and we go over their event application. And based on the feedback that we get from their application, we start saying we might need 30 police officers. So this will be at a rate of X. If there is EMS needed, that'll be a rate of X. If there are MOT requirements, we have to go through the MOT and pay for that. So there, and then if turtle season, then we have to get this permit through the state and so forth. So there's like a laundry list of things that goes into that spits out a fee.
Director Carl, you probably already stated this, and can you restate how Central Beach Alliance would use the revenue sharing?
So the Central Beach Alliance isn't getting the money; it would be coming to the city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're not.
So if there was a additional ticket price, or additional parking ticket cost, that would go to the city for public services. Would it go for a doggy bags? Like what public services?
Right now, it would probably go straight to the general fund.
Okay.
Because, so just to kind of tell you a little bit of the genesis of this. So the Budget Advisory Board, I want to say last year, maybe the year before, mentioned that they would like the city to get either to a full cost recovery for these events or get close to a full cost recovery. And so this is kind of a step in that direction to not only cover more of the costs associated with the events, but also to provide revenue because the fees are really, really low right now. And, you know, our commission is definitely interested in increasing those. Yes, sir.
I saw that they renewed the Tortuga
Yes.
for 5 years.
Yes, sir.
And you're telling me, so when they close that parking lot, South Beach parking lot there, from that day till their last day of cleanup, they're paying $2,500 a day?
They would be. Under this, yes.
What are
Right
they paying?
now, they're
What's the contract signed? I know it could be altered.
Yeah, so right now, this just consistent with the rates we have now, which is the $500 per day. Wow. So this is a huge impact to them. But it's Tortuga.
Yeah.
We're telling them 60,000,
Tickets
right?
are for $99.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the ticket price for these events are,
So that's the same for
Crazy.
COVID.
It's double the size.
pardon?
one ticket would do that.
Is,
It's not covering a day of the
Not exactly one thing.
Yeah.
not even
Not even.
not even.
And before I forget to mention this, so one thing that's not kind of outlined in the matrix here that's in your packet is that we added in the parking areas. That'll also be a part of that, which is included in there. But one thing that isn't in there is the dimensions of how much sand they're going to use. So in essence, like if you use the loop, it's one rate, but the beach is massive. So we're coming up with some language to fit in the matrix of the amount of space, which would add to its major impact on the matrix.
Did they pay for the lost revenue of the parking lot for the 24 days? Is that just part of the exact condition?
So the city manager has the authority to set certain rates of the parking, and I believe it becomes a set rate. But any parking that they take, they do pay.
Well, I mean, they're taking up the whole parking lot. Let's say, 500 cars in their day,
Yes.
whatever.
Mhm.
They-
But to that point though, I'm saying $30 because that's what it sounds like in my head. But I think that the manager has the authority to drop it to $20 per day. But because
they
they're
pay for that lost revenue.
So with the economic impact proposed credit, there's an example provided. How
Yes.
close is that to reality?
So the bid has mentioned that, but they haven't met as a board to vet that. And so I'm hoping to get some clarity from them at their next governing meeting on that example. I know they did express some challenges of being able to do that, with them having the ability to garner that information. But that's something that would probably be very transparent to do from the standpoint.
My math is always a struggle, so I feel like something like this, it should be a percentage of what the Pursuit Boat Show would collect in revenue.
That's how I feel as well.
It shouldn't be a
It
flat,
should- It shouldn't be a flat rate.
So here's the other caveat.
but
to
I
that.
don't do math. So I don't know.
So currently, we don't look in their books. We don't look at any events books. So we don't know what they're making, what they aren't making, what their profit and loss is on anything. And so this kind of basically sets a parameter to if there's 85% vacancy or 85% of individuals booking rooms in hotels, that's quantifiable. We can see that. And so that's basically the idea behind that.
And for the barrier islands, did they give you a ballpark figure for how many events they're comfortable having, whether they want to increase the number of events?
So I'll answer that this way. There is a total of about 200 or so events on the beach annually, and there's 190 events in the downtown area.
29.
And so commission did not want to state a specific number, but that's kind of why they wanted to share. You guys are in the hot seat on that one.
Yeah. I feel like that definitely needs a lot more community input on what they want.
Well, the goal of this looks like we have the same goal as comes to increasing the revenues from the tax rates, I'm sure. Commissioners agree to that, we set part of this additional revenue report of the budget. It's recommending to 500% Congress or looking for additional revenue related to the budget. So I'm just confused how we're gonna accomplish that by reducing temporary big service. I think we should do both. I think we should keep it as it is, and that's probably best for not increasing. And we probably have to put some surcharge for the ticket percentage, it's $1 or cent or $2 per ticket, because some events the spring break is full. And it's a lot of police, a lot of costs for the city. I'm sure there's more than 85% of the hotels fill up. If it's not packed, 100%. And we collect the seal, right? There's no particular event, but we have experience. I think, it's gonna be hard for us to properly place on that hotel sales. So
Yeah, so
maybe it's the way to go, but I think we should do both. And, if they're gonna do their less events, that's also one of the recommendations. So if we reduce the events, maybe they'll do it well.
right, so I'm thinking that you all probably wanna address these one by one. You know, when you talk about the number of events on the Bay Area Island, like I said, most of these events are on a daily basis. So commission is not interested in having more. They wanna do less. And so that could be, hey, let's keep it at 200 even, let's keep it at 180. That could be a recommendation. You could say, you know, we wanna recommend cutting them. I wouldn't go to the extent of cutting them in half because again, these are events that happen annually and inevitably
And
a
that
lot
doesn't
of
make
people.
room for new events.
But maybe you just put a moratorium on new events until some of these fall off. That's, I mean, I go to the beach every weekend and there's something going on every weekend. It's great. It's fantastic. But a little frustrating too, because you can't find parking, you can't move, you can't do anything. You can't imagine people on the beach feel like, but maybe you just put a moratorium on any new events until some of these fall off.
Well,
Is that
One of the challenges is that we wouldn't have new events like Oceans of Soul.
But that's
well, that's replacing like Riptide, right?
Yeah.
That's replacing something left.
But it's not the same type of music, right? It's
No, it's a different
different
genre,
genre.
but it's still music.
Yeah.
Replacing something that's there.
So what, in terms of the large scale annual events that you have to the air show, boat show, Oceans of Soul, are they all submitted for the next 5 years
not the next 5 years, but they are committing.
for multi-year?
The only exception to that is Oceans of Soul because they are our first year event. And after this year, if they elect to, then we could probably engage into multiple.
So do we want to take the director's direction, kind of go point by point? I have 4 points, I think, we outlined, number of events. Or what, sorry.
Yes.
Yes. So would we like to, can somebody entertain a motion for the number of events that are held? And there's a matrix here, a chart that shows how many events they have. You see that?
As far as some of the events.
That's a good question that you're gonna ask me here. Yeah. I really can't really say what my suggestion would be because I really don't want to curb the board's opinion. But what I will say is that Mr. Lee's comment about a moratorium on new events makes a lot of sense. It doesn't exclude any event that's currently in, but it does limit from a certain standpoint of any new events that we have.
And they can always make an exception if something comes up.
Absolutely.
Sure. So.
And I can assure you that
I'll do a lot of money.
All right, do we have a motion for the number of events that should be on the barrier island and non-barrier island? On this chart, there are 2 separate numbers. So you could do a total or a separate. Barrier island seems to be more sensitive, so maybe 2 separate numbers.
Does this mean no one can apply for a new event? Like if we, like, right, so.
So you could still
If we say,
unless we have a thing going with this philosophy.
Yeah.
Unless an event that was annually backed out or an event that didn't go into the next year, then they wouldn't be considered. So they can still apply, but unless something happened where a previous event didn't take place, they would not be.
So it wouldn't be necessarily a moratorium, it's a replacement, like you said, Riptide or Oceans of Soul.
there would be exceptions, like you had kind of said, like, depends.
Well, it sounds like the commission
Like
doesn't
that.
want to add any new events.
Right.
You don't want to kick people out. And by attrition, some of these events go away. They don't make money, you know, the sponsors don't want to come back, I would imagine. Do you have a number on how often that happens?
So
I would think if somebody came up with something like a really good idea,
Yeah, that there's no opportunity for nothing.
but like what you
Anything
should say,
new.
they don't want to add something else in there because you can't, every weekend there's a room closed. I don't know if you guys, every weekend one of the rooms is closed. And I know people on the beach that are furious. They want to.
How do they plan on enforcing this? Because like most events, you know, they're submitting applications like 4 or 5 months in advance.
yes. So all the process is that the applicant will submit their application online to our group, reviews them. If it is a new event, at that point we would, you know, essentially advise them that, you know, we currently aren't accepting new events, but we'll keep your application on file. in the event, an event does break out, then we can re-engage.
So currently, ongoing events theoretically have priority, and only when they don't renew would there be open space for new applications?
If that's what we propose.
And we
So-
only have multi-year agreements with the
Yeah.
projects. So like all the ones that you see on the barrier island, like the Jingle Bell Jar, those are annual events, but they do not have anything or multi-year.
Yeah. So my point is like, okay, how frequently do those event hosts submit applications?
So each event organizer can only submit their application outside of the year. So in other words, you can't put in your application for 2026, 2027, 2028. You can only do it again. And so
At the maximum, but they could do it less.
yes.
So then my point is like, okay, let's say I'm a new event person and I submit my application in January for an event in June. Right? How is the parks gonna say yes or no if there's events that are gonna be coming up in November, but that are just gonna count towards this amount?
Right.
You're not gonna know if that vendor is gonna be submitting their application in the future or not.
So that's where our historical records will come into play. So we would then know that we have, I'm going to use Jingle Bell John because Holland's coming. So we would know that they typically put in their application to do their event in December. And so we know these events happen and we would reach out to them and, hey, are you still planning on doing your event? If you are, please submit your application. And that's how we would manage that, as opposed to kind of being at a wait, sit still, kind of wait.
Yeah, that's gonna be super tough. You know, because then also you're giving a deference to ongoing events that
Yes.
you're not giving to
Right.
That's
new
right.
event people.
So we are accepting new applications. It's not like we're not accepting new applications. It's just we might not be able to do your event.
It depends on what the board.
Yeah, it
Depends,
really
right.
depends on what you guys want. But yeah, let's talk about now.
Yeah. Or why do I even plan a new event? Why do I plan a new event if there's no,
And then how is the determination made at that
yeah,
point?
and go to another city or?
So I think we need to like do the airline calendar or I don't know, ski passes and do the platform. So when you guys know when there is an event in December or there is a Tortuga, not those dates, because I think the problem is that those events are close to each other, not only I don't wanna say the same day, but there was a week last month and everything was at the beach. It was Fleet Week, there was some concert, there was something that's retired. 17th Street was shut down, so a lot of complaints, not only from residents, but people that actually want to go, right? Like, we can't even get there. So maybe it's a good point, but we can't just tell them, hey, looks like right now somebody can plan it next month. And just send an application and they happen, right? So I think it'd be good for us to just block out those dates and say, hey, what you guys have to do this week, this all we're doing about this week, kind of space them out and manage the calendar and just be open to those. We want you in our city, maybe don't go to the foundation, but we can accommodate those dates, those with the black, we don't want to close to each other, keep the 1 week off from them, for example.
Right. So we kind of do that now when you in terms of like major. So for
Put
example,
your lawyer,
yeah.
but I think, maybe you could also like some space them out there.
So that's kind of what I would need a little some direction from you all, because from our vantage point, we're just administrators. We can't deny an event, we got to approve. We take the application, we make sure that it's signed up with the insurances, they pay their application fee, and then we move that to commission for approval. They're the ones that approve it, not.
And how far out does the application have to be in order for them to present they want to put on an event?
It has to be a minimum, a maximum.
Maximum year penalties, so you can do it 4 months, but more of it's penalty.
So I guess what I'm saying is there any way of changing that application timeframe to where, I know the way I look at it is we do have a lot of events, I get it. And
which a lot of them do cost our patrons a lot of money, so they are making money. And I think that they would not be coming back year after year after year after year if they were a loss. So they're making money, they're covering whatever. But in order for new events or to be able to give that opportunity, instead of having to, hey, are you going to be doing it, whatever, having a process where we have an application process, this is where it's going to be, this is where you usually are, but if your application isn't in by that certain time, that new person gets that opportunity to come in and present their event to have. You know, because otherwise, I get it. I understand all these events are making money. They're making money. We're providing money to the city, but we're sitting and waiting on them to give them that opportunity to do that, where we're not giving opportunity to somebody else that could be something great. That's how I look at it.
So currently they're approved as they come in. They're voted on and presented and approved as they come in. Like
Yeah,
first
so-
come, first serve kind of.
As a third party vendors, if you will, they just come in, submit their application. Like I said, we administrate, carry them through the process, and then we package it up to commission to review it, and then they're the ones that just approve or deny.
So first come, first serve.
Is this a specific size event that we're talking about?
We're talking about all sides.
All events, so if I wanna throw like a, a picnic at the park and have let's just say like food truck on or something. That would be included in this.
It depends, because what kicks in our outdoor event process is if there's 500 or more people, if there's alcohol, if there's special permissions like amplified music, like that, then that or road closures that necessitates that to go to commission. But if you have an event that doesn't have alcohol, less than 500 people, I can approve those on my end.
Okay, so it's like a certain degree of impact.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like, to me, it would be more helpful also to know like which 17 events are in January, which 20 events are in May. So I'm like more comfortable with the current numbers. So reducing it without eliminating something that might be great. Like I don't want to necessarily say, let's have 150 on Barrier Island, and then that eliminates a really cool event that the community looks forward to.
I agree with Joy. I was just thinking, would it be a lot of work to look at it month by month?
No.
I mean, it's month by month, but limited month by month.
What do you
Because
mean?
then that
Oh,
would
you
be
mean like the
big
total
thing.
of the
So-
events per month?
So say 10 events less, and then it
Good
might be
idea.
more spacing. Right, depends on the location. I would say that let's see the type of events, but I do like the idea if we're trying to accomplish some spacing in community.
I agree with that, because you can have a 10 small, but have 10
Yeah, sure. So
I think it's, obviously, we should have hundreds, trees, and then 189. It's gonna be hard to cross somebody from that, whoever who's there, if I said that, that's what I'm trying for. It crosses no implication. I think it's just, nobody's planning to event the next one. They need to have some minimum time, there are requests 6 months in advance, there are requests a year in advance, and kind of control, because there will be a lot of controls, If you plan request to the next 6 months, past the deadline, you can do it.
So that's where the proposed fees come in. So there's a metric and a penalty if you try to plan an event less than 60 days, and it has to go before a city manager. That's the proposed fee schedule. So there are markers, but I think we have to.
My whole problem with this suggested number issue or putting a moratorium is that like the application process and what gets approved and doesn't get approved is gonna become a disaster.
Yeah.
Because like you submit an application and you're not gonna like Parks and Rec or the commission's not gonna know whether or not they're gonna be able to approve this new event because they don't know what applications are coming down the pike later on in the year. So I wanna honor the commission's request of like limiting the number of events because traffic is a major concern and impact is a major concern, but like this is gonna turn into a thing.
It will.
And I certainly don't wanna I don't wanna create it unless we really thought through like what's the process gonna be, how are we gonna address it?
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's so arbitrary.
So is the board comfortable with recommending the current numbers? Which is 203 for the barrier island, 189 for non-barrier island, until a further assessment can be done for like, how are you gonna make sure that new events that are valuable to the community are also well?
Do you have numbers on the drop off per year? Typically,
It would take a little research, but I think we could probably come up.
I mean, how many vacancies occur?
The church.
And then the other thing is, have any, application been voted by somebody, not reapproved? I mean,
Yeah, so during my 12 plus years with the city, I can only recall one of them being denied.
right,
I think it had something to do with the method in which they wanted to, like having music at 6 in the morning. You know, concerns that the neighbors wouldn't want to have. So
so they were never approved. I'm talking about people who get approved, and then get reapproved, and they get, you know. Yeah, that,
no,
ever happened?
not to my recollection.
So,
Yeah.
can we do first come, first serve and just,
But we don't have, so we have all the options on the table. I think what I'm hearing from the board is we need more information before actually coming to a number and doing more.
That's how I feel.
So it's the recommendation to keep the current number with your strong suggestion, like, hey, have
I
more.
think they need to
input.
figure out how they're gonna deal with this.
Yeah.
Like, deal with the application process, just because like, you know, not everyone's submitting the application a year out. Some people are doing it a couple months out, and like, how are they gonna determine whether or not they're hitting their their like projected maximum?
So like my thought process to that would be, we would assume we would still have 200. And so if we got a new application that was given to us, we would then, depending on, especially because of the time frame matters too. So like, for example, if we had an event that wanted to take place in February, we would reach out to our vendors that we know that produce an event during that month and just verify with them if they're going to have an event that February. And if they aren't, then that's when those new events could go in. Or if they aren't going to have it, that's when that.
I think this is a lot of work for you. Like you guys divided the funds right now, reaching out to vendors. Hey, are you about to spend?
That's what I'm saying.
And I was looking for work from your stuff, so. I think this is the numbers for 2024. Do we have any current, like, for the 25 year? Are we
Year to
close
date.
to that number? Maybe we're at the above?
Yes, so
Sorry, I do have to jump in because I agree. Sure, here's something. No. Oh, Sean. Indicating that if
Ron,
I have to warn you guys not to be arbitrary capricious. So unless Carl, your team, you and your team have like a pre-approved or reset events 200 or 392 by December of, let's say, 2024, so you know that for 2025 easily approved events, then how, I can't wrap it around my head how we're gonna deny you events coming in. So I'm warning you guys to be careful about the directions that you're giving. And may I suggest that if you guys want to change, if the board wants to change the fees, I think the number will likely automatically be reduced, because some people are not gonna be able to afford those new fees that are being proposed. So you have a few companies or even individuals, when they look at the $2,500, they're just gonna say, we're going somewhere else. You have Tortuga who's gonna invest in that because they have the money. So I don't know, how we're gonna insert that language in the proposed ordinance without, getting into trouble of being discriminatory or against newcomers, because can't say just because the person has been doing these events annually, they should be considered on a higher basis than someone else who's coming in.
We did put in a deadline.
Right, so, you know, if I'm just thinking out loud, like how we're gonna do this, and the more you guys talk about it, the more confusing the whole process. So
I mean, it's a
I'm just putting it out there, and we need to be careful about how we consider these options, or at least, I mean, I have no issues with the fees, but this thing about who comes first, how many, and you know, the long-standing events. Now, we have the major events that may not be an issue, because the city can have 10 major events or 5 major events, but what about everyone else who's coming in? And to some of the board members' points, like, I don't know which events are more important than the other events. Like, just because you're gonna have a marathon doesn't mean somebody else who wants to have an educational event is not as important. So we need to find a matrix that would prevent any kind of discriminatory or type of,
Yours.
Impact. And, yeah,
I know I'm not articulating my
Oh,
thoughts,
you're
but
right.
I'm just concerned right now.
When this
So I
is
wanted
still
to-
before the.
All those things are problems.
Right.
So it'll likely go in. Commission goes on break in July, so.
And you need the recommendation by what? Okay. That's meeting.
So. Yeah, well, so we need the final approved minutes, 'cause that goes part of it. Now, you can say if you don't want to provide a recommendation on the number of events, that's okay.
I want to provide a recommendation, number of events, but I think we just all need more information about what events are
they're
actually
just doing
happening
the
by the month, how processing. Is it appropriate for you to even reach out and say, hey, you know, you always are doing the turkey trot. I have a newcomer. Are you interested? I don't know that that's
Trying
fair.
to do that now.
Yeah, I don't know that that's
Yeah,
fair.
so like we do, like on the application, there's events that are, it's called like, what we consider like legacy. We have held this event multiple times. That's how Ocean of Soul was able to get it, because the Odyssey basically wasn't able to continue. So that's how they we reached out to them.
Yeah.
Hey, are you gonna still have your date? And they said no, and that's what they said.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's-
So,
Gotta be some
we're
kind of
asking about the timeline to see if we can get more information from your office to make a decision at the June meeting that would help for August. If not, then the board will just
So
have.
what, like, I guess I'm a little unclear on what information we need.
I think it would be important to have the process laid out as to how they're gonna make determinations of who's being approved and who's not being approved based off of legacy events versus new events.
I'd also like to know the list of events for January. There's 17. Which events are there? A whole database to see the full list. So we don't.
And where they're being held.
Yeah, we're part of the.
We're,
beach,
we're part of the beach and they being held. So
Because that kind of goes to
capacity.
Marta's point about having some space in between.
And you can determine, as Carl indicated earlier, do you want 200 events per year? You want 250? But the idea of determining that, you know, the sport members event is not as important as this Ogilvy's event is not, you know, it's just.
I understand that, but I understand what you're saying as far as that goes.
I heard and I
think we said
I
two
just-
times first.
First come, first served.
First, I think that's what
okay.
Yeah,
First
that's
come,
right,
first
first served.
I
'Cause that's the
think
problem.
not a position itself, we have a better time of plan. So, like I said, if the third child is around Thanksgiving, and the moment they get when they have this event, the next day they should be apply for another, you know, kind of give you better planning ahead. You have the backup dates, and then you know, you can present to commissioners, this is the front of the month for next quarter, or next half of the year.
So we currently do first come, first served.
Right.
So I don't want the board
And
Yeah.
to leave here.
Yeah.
thinking that we-
No.
So first come,
Yes.
first served now. And so, in like, for example, to your example, if there's the change of, that takes place in December, in January, they can go ahead and apply for December.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we do business now.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind
Okay,
of
so
the-
when you reach out to them, it's like only a year.
Yeah, but I think it's an issue because if a new event comes in and January 1 applies and says, hey, on December 31st of this coming year, we want to do an event. Like, how is anyone gonna make a decision as to whether or not there's going to be like we're gonna hit the threshold throughout the year of the quantity of events, and then at what point you make that determination? You know, like, just seems like it's gonna be a really, really challenging thing to do without.
So are we, as a board, are we comfortable with presenting the number? Is there specific information you want, Director?
I don't feel comfortable. I want to know how they're going to manage this process if we were to give a cap.
Capped. Are you able to answer that now, how you would manage the process if there was a cap? There's 300 events instead of 392.
So
Check, right, I'm sorry. Another.
I'm sorry, can you have, I want to have them respond to that question.
yeah, so my response to that would be, it would still be on a first come, first served basis at the time of when we accept it.
Okay. Yes, Martin?
I'm sorry, but I'm thinking by having a cap, let's say we're gonna say 20 events in January, I mean, the cap per month or like 200,
Whatever.
400 a year, right? That's how it comes, no more than 400 a year. And we're gonna book everybody the first quarter of the year. I'm just exaggerating, but I don't think it's like, you know, they could happen, right? Oh, we already reached out 400 because we had 17 pickleball tournaments, for instance, you know, and they're gonna be 17, right? Yes, we love the pickleball. So, but I'm just exaggerating. And then when we haven't happened the year, like, oh, we could just everybody speak. Like, but not only having cap, but also timeline. That's why maybe it's 10 major firms. The district or
Yeah,
10 major.
That's you guys keep that recommendation.
But we more specific, because if we just do the flat cap, it's the cap is still around 1 year, I don't know, everybody wants something in January.
That's totally within your board's
I'm
recommendation.
sorry, Sean, I'm sorry, I'm gonna ask for no side conversations, the prototype can hear, document, yes.
Is there any value in allocating and grading certain types of events in the interest of what the city's growth, tourism, whatever, community development, whatever? Is there any value in the application to grading certain activities in a certain way to make sure that over the course of the year we get a nice mix of activities as opposed to just a bunch of people who apply first come, first served? In addition to your rating, your scheduling, you know, everything, you know, like 365 pickleball tournaments. Okay. But I mean, pickleball is taken over the world. I'm curious if this question is but is there any value in you know, making sure you get a nice mix?
So from our department standpoint, no, because we're strictly just the administrators, the ones that kind of just.
You know, I'm asking the board.
Oh, sorry.
So that would be our recommendation.
I'm just asking. I'm not really saying.
I think, I think they do have a good mix, and with the pricing is where the mix comes in. So the fact that they allow 0 points assessed if it's a nonprofit or a small group that's like 50 or less or 100 or less, that helps you get in people who are just selling bracelets versus trying to buy the new
I'd like
EV.
to see a breakdown of the types of events.
So that was what I
Yeah,
requested
that's
earlier.
important.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's why I don't know.
So,
So timeline. So now we're going back to that director about, is it possible to,
We want to see
In
what
fact-
we're attracting.
yeah, you really don't.
like, does the board want more information about like the types of events that are every month in order to make a decision of the cap? Because the commission is asking for a number.
Well, Joy, Call has a listing of everything that's ever been done on that beach, right? And what type of events they are.
Is,
I
do you
have
have
no
enough
clue
time
what the
to
mix is.
review that and give you a response by the next week? to meet
We
the
can-
August deadline.
Not to make the August, but September.
Okay, so push back. The
Because
commission review.
the challenge though is not only do you opine on and provide your recommendation, but then those minutes have to be finalized. So we're really talking about 60 days.
I have a
Yes.
point of clarification. So we find out all of the events and then we're gonna like divvy it up to different groups.
I think
What are we doing?
if I knew which events, it'd give me a better picture of like, okay, can we say they should cap to 300 or should it remain at 292? And there is still then, there's also a question when he comes back in June, if we decide to do that, of answering Solomon's question about, well, what is your process gonna be? I think he's answered it several times where it's, there's an application window, you apply and we consider it, and if you're good to go, then we accept you. So there's still probably be very few, and we have 3 other points, yes.
There's something called hard caps and then there's soft caps. Where
Are we allowed
they do, certain types of applications or whatever that get.
I'm consulting counsel to see if that's permissible to
I think,
propose.
I don't know where you guys are going with it yet. I think as mentioned, Madam Chair, maybe once you get all the information that you're requesting from the director, and you all are provided with the list of, the monthly, events. And at that time, I will see what kind of discussions we have, what kind of resolution. we're trying to make. So I don't want to speculate
Is it
as
the,
to where you're going with it
Okay.
at this point, because you did ask for additional information, so you all can see what types of events. And earlier, I warned you about discriminatory acts, but since, board member said that's not where you're going with it, I'm backing off. I think with the additional information, I can see where the discussion is going, and so we can all be on the same page. Is that fair enough?
Just wonder if we're making this a little more complicated. Not you, but us, looking at all the events.
Well, if you have it at a number without deciding which events
Right.
should go forward or not, then that's where
okay,
I'm
so
So that's why I'm trying to say maybe you all need to see what type of events that are being processed by the department. Because as Carl indicated, they're the administrators. They get the applications, we process them, they send them to legal, we make sure that everything is in order, and then it goes to commission for final approval.
Yeah.
So, and at this, right now, there's 392 applications that's been processed for 2024. Or is it?
it says 2020.
Right. So Carlos will provide you with the information for each month, so you can see what type of, or the level of events that are being processed in the department. At that point, I think that should give you all the level of comfort for how these applications are being processed, what type of applications, and then maybe we can, ask some additional questions to kind of figure out how you want to proceed with your deliberation.
You definitely don't wanna complicate it. For the record, I don't wanna see the events to pick and choose. I just wanted to see, to be comfortable if we can go down to 150 or 200 or remain at the same
But
number.
at that time, we need to give staff directives as to how you.
Yeah.
Because right now, you see what I'm saying, right now, they're on the barrier island, the
Well-
department is processing 203
Will we
applications.
have to give direction, or can we say it's going to be 200 and they use their best judgment for first come, first serve? Because the second part of the question was, in addition to which events are happening, what is your process? And he's answered that, but just to clarify for the board.
Well, the answer is that they, right now, they just try to figure it out, but right now they're not capped. So only once the cap is added is the complication going to arise, whether or not to give first priority to the first applicant that submitted, or priority to the existing, legacy events that have not yet submitted applications, who may not submit their application for 6 months out. So
That's actually a part
That's a
of,
concern.
yeah, so that's actually a part of this right here, which is kind of what the feedback that I need from the board is, do we wanna give preference to a legacy? Or do we wanna have preference to first come, first serve? I mean, that's the kind of the you know.
It's so hard because the legacy
Yeah.
can certainly try.
Limit, you know, one race per month on the beach. That's all. And that seems like a good structure and framework.
Look
And
tight, look tight. So it's-
I understand that is hard, and I'll say this because I hold, Carl knows, I've been holding, and it's in the park, so it's not like I'm blocking off the beach. But I still gotta have EMS and everything else. For 14 years, I've been holding an event at Carter Park for weekends. They've done a great job over there to the point where, I guess I'm a legacy event, whatever, but I, at a certain point, have to make sure I'm on the calendar. And if not, it's open. It's open. Sorry, Colette, we have to move your day, or we've already put something in there. So for legacy events, it's what I guess I'm trying to bring out. I think as legacy events, I think that's a lot easier to figure out than other events.
So what would your recommendation be as a legacy? Would you want
I have no problem.
Cindy to call you and say, hey, there's somebody else who
They
wants
just,
your day?
tell me when my event's over, they know right away, well, I'm putting it right on the calendar because I don't want to get stuck and get busy and not, but I believe that Ben tells me that it has to be on the calendar. It's either 2 or 4 months out.
But to be on the calendar, does it mean you applied, did you actually put in your
I
deposit?
put in my
Okay.
beginning
Yeah.
special event application.
So there, that still goes back to Solomon's point that there could be other people who haven't submitted their application yet, even if they are legacy. Certainly try.
Right,
Sit
but
down
that's what
right
I'm saying. What I'm saying is I think you know that if you are a legacy event, you're gonna have it or you're not gonna have it. If you've been doing it for 20 years or 14 years,
It would be.
Yeah, but what if it's like an event that's only been 2 years that has been ongoing?
so what is it,
And-
what is considered legacy? How many
and-
years is considered a legacy?
And even if it is legacy, what if a new application comes in, right, at the beginning in January for an event they wanna do in December, but the normal legacy events don't submit their application, let's say, until June. So what, is that new application just sitting there, the people that wanna do the event are sitting around waiting for determination to be made at a random point throughout the
Well,
year?
that's what I'm saying. For a legacy event, what do you consider, how many years it's been
think
put on? And then when should that have to be so that we know those events are there?
Yeah, so going back to that scenario, because we deal with that like now. So, and I'll give you a perfect example. The Odyssey event, which is on AKA Riptide, I think it's changed name. And then there's also the Oceans of Soul. And so we told the Oceans of Soul that they could not use, I think it was a September date because we had already had it built in. Now, after learning, reaching out to Odyssey and them telling us that we're not in a position to move forward with the event, then we said, okay, well, we have to give this date away. And so that's, to me, that's the only way we could do it from the transparent.
So that would change once we cap it, because you were able to say, hey, that date's not available, but there's other dates where you could do it. Whereas if we put a cap, you wouldn't be able to tell them that at any point throughout the year, because you don't know until you know whether or not that legacy event is going to be submitting that application or not, and that may happen at any time throughout the
To
year.
go back to Don's point, the commission is asking for a recommendation. So we could recommend or not recommend. We could recommend that they look into it further, but they're gonna come up with a number. So we have an opportunity to advise them of a number.
I think we should recommend them to consider like what process is going to be implemented
If
to
there's a cap,
manage
Right,
to manage
exactly.
the process in the event that there is a cap.
Is that gonna be your motion?
I'll motion for it.
I'll second.
Okay.
We will still have a discussion. You can,
We need the motion stated, because there
Right,
was
right, yeah.
discussion.
Motion to recommend for the commission to provide more information on the process by which event applications will be considered
if there's a cap.
if a cap is implemented with respect to barrier island versus non-barrier island events.
Yes, council.
The process of being administered, and I don't have a problem with the board member's motion, but I just want to clarify that the process is being administered by the director is being administered by the director and his team. Correct, Carl?
Yes.
So the commission
Right.
would not be in a position to clarify, clarification would come from, if you were looking for directives as to exactly what they want, but the process is administered by staff. I just want to clarify.
So the
I don't
motion
wanna
could be a directive to
if you're
ask the
looking for
commission.
directive or specific directive from the commission as to what they're looking for. I don't know if. you
I don't-
want to say-
I don't think it needs to come from the commission. I just think like there has to be a plan for how they're going to evaluate applications if a cap is put forward.
I'm sorry, I did made a mistake. So you have a motion on the floor and then we're supposed to have a second and then we're supposed to have discussion, but
Yeah.
you want to rescind your motion so we can have more discussion, because I see you don't, so talk.
Well,
And because now we also know it's not a valid motion because it can go to the commission.
Give clarification.
Can you
I don't
rescind the
think-
motion?
but I
Because
don't
it
yeah,
was
can I
valid?
amend that motion to request from Carl, the Parks Department, as opposed to the commission? Would that,
No, because I think our,
You can just ask chair or, and give, you can have a motion to give directive.
oh, yeah,
Yes.
okay.
To give, as a.
your request?
I'm gonna give the directive from, by then.
But do we have to make it as a motion or can we just ask? Right, so do you mind rescinding your motion? Because
I rescind my motion.
Okay, thank you. It's like, we don't need to be that formal.
Yeah.
You know,
So Carl came to ask us for a few recommendations.
yes,
I trust Carl to do the process that he is to. So I don't think we have to go out of scope, is my view, unless I'm misunderstanding. Like, I think, right, Carl, is that what you came for? Like,
Yeah, so commission, when I gave the presentation to commission, they basically said, listen, thanks for the feedback, but I want to hear something from the board. And so, I put together, about 5 or so, items that commission wanted direction on, or feedback from the board on. And so it's like, for example, for tonight, it's okay if we say, hey, Carl, I want you to come back because I want to see each individual event that takes place on the Barrier Island downtown area. No problem, I could probably have it to go this week. But I think we do need to address each one of these one by one so that I can start to build my recommendation and feedback to the commission. And I'd like to
so what's the board's desire? Do we want more information or do we want to
And Mike,
present?
you can tell me if you want to limit the number of events in a month, limit the number of type of events. You know, that all those things are on the table, because I think commission just generally just wants to hear feedback from the governing body that is a part of the Parks and Rec.
That's why I wanted to see what the events were, because I don't necessarily want to limit 20 events to now 5 in 1 month and then realize, oh, it was a really cool, small mom and pop event.
And now with the 5 chief portal, but also you guys have an application, the number of participants, right? So be nice for us to know
Impact and community.
the 2024 type of the event. It's I don't know, the Toshiba or it's the round and number of the participants. Is when you know it's because it's counting the event, but it could be 10 people, right? Or could be
Well, it's gotta be at least over 500.
over 500. Okay, so 500 and over. So I think it would be nice not only a time. The location looks like, I mean, we have it here on the March 18th. I actually haven't watched the meeting. And I do believe there was a problem with that 17th Street, one of the commissioners said that it was much which we get into their own homes. So, any people can rewatch that meeting on the March 18th before he was the wish of the commission, but it says clearly they want us, right? It doesn't say we have to have the events, but I think the better scheduling that they not happen at the same time and they causing the traffic or having problems even find their own driveway. That just better schedule, we can figure out. I think we can figure this out. I don't think they wanna just put a sort number and say, hey, we do more than 10 and not some, because they make better, right? Then 10 or 500 and maybe 5 or 2,000. It's so many variation here.
I do know that, 2 commissioners were very adamant that they do want to reduce the number of
The reduction, okay, which is fine, that's that's like to what that week and kind of everybody do some homework and feel what is the actual wish. But again, it could be draft that this 3 hours, right? Or because of the whole update that so the impact is horrible. And I keep having to solve it out. You can try to do one event in the morning, one event at night, right? They only had travel routes 5 miles, right?
So I think, please correct me, I think we're hearing that we would like you, Director Carl, to gather more information on the impact, the scheduling, the spacing, the process for evaluating if there is a cap, and a detailed list of events, not to discriminate, but just to have a idea of how many, the variety of events, which is what Mr. Mizell said.
We also want to see what schedule up to date.
Okay, and then additionally, year to date numbers. Yeah. All right, so can we go on to the next item? Because we have 3 other things that he would like us to review. All right, so the next one is the surcharge. Yes, we have surcharge, fees and matrix, and bonus structure. So the ticket surcharge suggested option, adding $2 surcharge on ticket events held in the city. What is the board's desire?
I do not like it.
I don't either. I don't like it.
All right, can we have a motion?
Well, before you do the motion, I want to say, it does not have to be $2. It could be $1.25, $1.50. It's any of that. That's
I don't
just-
like it because it impacts the
User.
the
Yes.
community,
Yeah.
and the,
They're just gonna increase the ticket prices.
right,
Which already tickets
tickets are,
so expensive. As a consumer, as a person who goes to a lot of the events, runs the races, goes to Tortuga, does a lot of stuff within the city. When you start impacting service charges and pressing it on, you just get the, oh, forget that, because now look at the cost of it.
So look at this, you just said that the cost is expensive, but this without the surcharge. So you think that in that boost the surcharge, they're not gonna increase the tickets everywhere?
But we also have an
You say
option.
they are going
I'm saying
to.
they're going to.
Yes.
They're not gonna cover the charges. Nobody ever does.
so with the
They can,
proposed,
no, make fee.
But then the
No,
proposed fee.
it's a
so we
fee.
can-
It's
it's
a
We
proposed
can make
fee.
the,
Can do proposed.
they can make the,
My other issue
the
with it,
event people pay for, not the
Not us.
consumer.
my other issue with it is that the sophisticated event vendors are gonna start figuring out ways to adjust how they charge in order to not account for that surcharge, like rather than selling tickets, they offer the event as free, but then the prices of amenities there go up, something like that. So I think what'll end up happening is, you know, the everyday, person, or the smaller events, they may be impacted more by this than some of the more sophisticated vendors who change their, how they charge. And then also, how's the city gonna know how many tickets were sold? Like, now they're gonna have to ask the vendor, the vendor's gonna say, the vendor's gonna lie to them. Say, we sold 100 tickets, instead of 1,000. And then, that causes a whole nother set of issues in terms of the city dealing with vendors and stuff like that. I just think it's like, I'd rather just raise the event fee if we're gonna do anything than to do ticket surcharge. Even though I don't wanna raise event fees, I'd rather raise event fees than do a ticket surcharge.
Because you already said you don't
permanent.
know their financials and do a surcharge. So if you're gonna do a surcharge and raise it, you raise by $2 because surcharges become a turnoff. People.
And this is great feedback, exactly what I was looking for, so we could do a motion however you guys.
okay. Solomon, it's on you.
I don't wanna do it.
Okay.
I feel like I'm a Grinch tonight.
No.
I'll make a motion,
Thank you, Vanessa.
motion to not have a surcharge. I make a motion to reject the surcharge on ticketed events held in the city.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I want to hear
Yes.
Carl's opinion on it, because Carl's the one that brought it to it. What do you think?
So, and I mentioned this during my presentation on the 18th, is that is going to be a challenge for us to do internally, just because we have to now ask them for books. And we are a department that processes close to 400 operations, and that's two. So, you know, kind of dealing with that paperwork, took that and had that real challenge for our department, but it's not doable, it's just.
It requires auditing.
And is it worth the more time for?
And then what happens if they lie to you? Now what, refer them to prosecution, they get committed fraud against the city,
It depends how far.
you know?
So I would like to, if I can, let's call for a roll call vote. Do we need a roll call vote, or can it just be aye or nay? Okay. Yeah, hey, we have a roll call vote.
Certainly. Okay, so this is a roll call on the motion to reject the surcharge.
Correct.
Okay, just 1 second. Ms. Fothker? Yes. Yes. 1 second. Let's see. Yes, okay. Sorry. Seconded by Mr. Schoonover. Yes. Okay. Mr. Eckstein,
Yes.
Mr. Fee,
Yes.
Mr. Goff,
Yes.
Ms. Keno. Yes. Mr. Mizell,
Yes.
Ms. Rexo,
No,
and Chair Oglesby.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. So now the next item that we need to address is fees in the matrix. If I handed, would we like Director Carl to review the matrix? It's been a minute.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
So the second one refers to the fees that we, so under this model, the applicant, if they submit the application on time, they would pay the $500 application fee. And then based on the overall impact score, if they fall anywhere more than 10 points on the matrix, there's a fee that's processed accordingly to that. And so, for as it kind of relates here, can you go back a couple slides? I'll put that up on the board. Right there. So, as you'll see here, if there's a special event out in a park and they have a moderate impact, which is a score between 14 and 17, that's a $1,500 per day fee. If it's an event that has a limited impact between total raw score of 11 to 14, that's $1,000 per day fee. And same thing for the major impact, it's 18 or more based on the major fee. They would be paying the $2,500 per day.
And currently, to reiterate, it's $500.
That's $500 if it's on the same.
Is there any discussion, or are we ready to make a motion?
I did want to ask, why is it that like the beach for limited and moderate impacts, like the fees are lower than like on just like city park or recreational facility?
So when you take a park out, you're taking the entire park. For the beach, you're only taking a portion.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Director Carl, and these numbers are proposed, so we could adjust the number in the motion.
So you can make a recommendation for a different fee,
But can you can,
but this would be like because it's based off of the $500 application fee. It's time. If you look at the ordinance, it's times X based on the matrix.
and this takes into account what I think Marta brought up earlier, is that fees covers more the expenses for the city. Okay. So the proposed numbers are.
And this is also something that the budget advisory board has really been keen on, recouping more money for the city.
Do we know, if these changes, proposed changes were enacted, generally how much revenue they might drive?
So from the standpoint of that, no, because it's gonna vary. So, and I'll give you an example. Like Tortuga is currently, I'm gonna say $2,500 per day. They could say, we want to eliminate. bad example. Let's say if a run said, you know, I'm gonna eliminate some road closures, then their raw score on the matrix would drop, which would then give them a reduced fee. Or if they wanna have more road closures.
Yeah.
So it really is like a sliding scale depending on how the event board wants to do their event. I mean, a shrewd individual would, depending on what they want to do, would say, you know, I'm gonna do the least impact to the city, which would be advantageous to the residents.
Yeah.
But we still would recoup this.
Yeah, but right now, these numbers are not the costs that are currently existing, correct?
Correct.
So my, you know, I guess I'm trying to figure out is like, okay, if we increase the cost to these numbers, like, do we have any idea how much revenue that's gonna drive to the city? Now, obviously, the events could change and, you know, whatnot, but I figure there maybe that there's like, oh, like we're projecting between this amount and this amount of increased revenue.
Yeah,
If
I
we
would
make
have
a
to do a full assessment of all 400 events to kind of get an idea. We kind of did events from each criteria, from your minor, medium, and large scale events, to kind of have an idea of what that rate change would be as an impact to the actual.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's the point is in looking for additional revenue. So regardless of that number, I'm sure Kat and Grant's are there. There was a recommendation to look for additional revenue. And we just have to search. And that, so we have to figure out how we're gonna do more revenue. So I think I'm all on board for this.
I think I hear a motion from Martin, but it's stated different.
There you go. I would like to take a look. This number again on there.
This is the third,
How did that change? Okay.
no, not ordinance.
But do we need to say how much of the number is increasing the impact fees or?
Just say we support the proposed.
I put this myself. Okay. I would like to make a motion to change the ordinance that is the impact fee budget. Like stuff.
I'm sorry, did you hear who second?
I say.
Mizell. Could you repeat the motion, please? I'm sorry, because it was, I was
Motion to approve change of ordinance that includes the impact fee matrix as proposed by proposed outdoor event matrix.
Were you able to capture it or did you need to?
I'll get it.
Change of ordinance that includes
Change of
outdoor event ordinance, right? Yes.
Okay. All right, so motion by Rexo, seconded by Mizell. Ms. Rexo, yes?
Yes.
Mr. Mizell?
So we,
Oh, we can have, I'm sorry, we can have a discussion.
Oh, sorry.
Motion, yes.
Carl, how difficult is it to change this after we, like, how difficult will it be for you all to change these?
To go from where we are to
To
this,
implement it,
Or not from, the like, if we do this to something new?
oh, you mean like if you wanted to change the fee to 500 and, no, not really, it would just,
It
we
would
would
have to
just
come
adjust
back
the.
for
That's what I was wondering, yeah.
recommendation, and then
Yeah.
city commission would have to have final approval. Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
that's exactly.
Okay, I'm
yeah.
sorry. I don't-
Yeah, thank you.
So.
Yeah, because no, regardless of what's in here, I have to take that feedback to the commission.
And you have to do three things in our.
Two.
So with that, obviously, I wanna increase that, but it's, you guys, I think it's better to change that ordinance to have like a schedule of the. We go back to the change ordinance, right, that just has by basically a solution or something. Okay, now you gotta go with the big also.
I think we
No,
have to
we
do
don't,
that.
yeah, because our fee is currently set by ordinance, we have to go through this process to amend that ordinance, that's the only thing. Are you suggesting an auto increase?
Yeah. What the students, like, that's fee schedule, we will go back to the ordinance.
Well, the commissions have to approve like a annual auto increase, it's up to like, or biannual.
That would just expedite the process, let's say, increase the manual now, increase the fees again. About the ordinance. Instead of passing by the resolution and the date. That just the two reports.
Yes, sir.
If that's the recommendation of the board, I'm sure that Carl can. discuss that with the commission if they wanna have a, like,
Which right, which I don't, at least from the feedback that I got, we didn't say what we want to do.
Yeah.
They kind of just want to adjust the ordinance and put that into.
Sean,
How much are they increasing?
So the only fees that we currently charge now is a $200 application fee if submitted on time and not late, or $1,000 fee if it's late. And then the only other fee that's assessed is if it's on each same, which is $500. The only other fees associated with that are city services that they have to pay out.
So the major impact on the beach right now, it's 2,500. That's on the 25. Okay.
any further discussion? Maybe have a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Okay, Ms. Rexo,
Yes.
Mr. Mizell,
Yes.
Ms. Papiker,
Yes.
Mr. Eckstein,
Yes.
Mr. Fee.
Yes.
Mr. Goff.
Yep.
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Keno, Ms.
Yes.
Keno,
Yes.
yes, okay. And Chair Oglesby.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Oh,
Oh, did I not? Oh my gosh.
I'm voting no.
oh, you voted no.
Okay,
Okay, so 8-1.
thank you. All right, so our final item for this is the bonus structure. Do we need a recap of bonus structure?
Well, I'll go ahead and share real quick. This is just the bid recommendation for only those major events on the beach. The major events on the beach, Tortuga, Ocean of Soul, Boat Show, and Tortuga. So those are like the major events. And their thought was, because it provides such an economic benefit, they want only a adjustment paid for those kind of.
So this is the Beach Business Improvement District, including the 11 hotels. Okay. And the stakeholder feedback. Oh yeah, so this is the one that it's suggested numbers, but we don't know how much amount. And my math wasn't mathing, so Marta said,
Make a motion.
yes.
I'll make a motion to reject the proposed credit for events providing economic impact on the barrier.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Isn't Pride Festival down there too?
Yes.
Why is that not? That's
So the Pride Festival doesn't have, based on our definition of major.
is the number of days or?
So not only the number of days, the number of people. Yeah, kind of like. Logically, this makes sense.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion points? All right, hearing none, may we have a roll call vote?
Yes, certainly. Okay, Ms. Papiker,
Yes.
Ms. Rexo,
Yes.
Mr. Eckstein.
Abstain. Abstain.
Oh, you can't. I don't believe you can abstain.
He can, because we have a. We have a phone. And then.
Okay. Noted. Mr. Fee,
Yes.
Mr. Goff,
Yes.
Ms. Keno,
Yes.
Mr. Mizell, Mr. Schoonover,
Yes.
and Chair Oglesby. Yes. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. Not to support the reduction. Okay. Well, we have two things. Department updates and budget requests, is that,
Oh, good. Only one copy. You want?
can you truncate that because we have
Yes, I
new
will-
business that
I will-
requires?
By the patient.
Yes, I know, thank you for.
Stay for the vote.
So. Alright, that's being pulled up. So as you know, we are in budget season and every year we are tasked with looking at our department and looking if there are other ways to run it efficiently if there's needs or shortcomings that we have. Now, mind you, every one of these here decision packages that I'm gonna go through, these are just suggestions. The city manager ultimately makes the final decision. And so the first one is a facility assessment, asset management platform. So we currently have MainTrack, and MainTrack doesn't integrate with Fixit MTL and other software that the city uses. This causes a lot of arguments to duplicate the existing information. And so what we're asking for at the request department is to get a new software system, similar to what Public Works uses, like CityWorks, to help us with our work order system. The next one, this falls under our sanitation fund. This is to go from owning to renting a beach dozer. We currently have a unit now that would basically need to be replaced in 2026. This request is simply just to go from doing that to a rental.
The FY 26 request, that's what you requested next, right? And the project is an ongoing request.
So ongoing request is anytime there's a vehicle that we purchase or lease, if you will. In this case, what we're asking for is to do a rental unit.
Okay.
That's that
The
ongoing.
purchase, there was a request for purchase on 9. You just have 5,000.
Yes,
And that would be 300 days.
that would give us, yes. So anytime we need to replace that, we just go and turn the rental in to get them.
Oh, okay. So you just load the tire.
Yes, yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, and it's a more efficient way to do it
Yeah.
because with salt elements, it's really hard on these vehicles, so it
Exactly.
makes it
Okay.
faster.
I'm sure it was.
And you don't have to manage storage. Yeah, okay. Yes, yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we have, do we have the phone on the
Yeah,
letter?
you don't have anything else to put on.
No.
Well, I
The
mean,
letter?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. Do I? Thank you. Okay, okay.
you leaving? Oh, okay.
Go ahead, the next one is, so we've always had a challenge with this, for the restrooms. We put this specific package in prior years, but it was very resource driven. This request kind of reduces some of that resource needed. There's also a reduction in the contracted service that we utilize now. This request allows us to hire 15 part-timers to handle those high traffic areas, which would be for Roots, Holiday Park, Esplanade, those are our business restaurants, which and it gives us flexibility.
Very good update.
We on the next request, we have smart irrigation controller. We currently had a pilot program for these controllers in 2019, and now we're looking to expand upon that into our meetings throughout the city. And one of the interesting things about this request is that over time, we'll actually have a cost savings of approximately $50,000 in the city. So that's really unique about this particular item and why we're asking.
Will you be able to reallocate that 50,000 or
So it's just be a straight
Thank-
fifty.
Okay,
So as some of you all know, we provide transportation in our recreation programs. And now more than ever, it's become evident that we need transportation because a lot of our schools in the area get out at varying times. And we currently only have 2 vehicles. And so this request is to add a full large school bus and then also a full-time driver. This driver would also be responsible for transportation for Club 55, field trips, any kind of activation that we have, that would be the request for this. As you know, back last year, commission approved the dogs in parks on a 6-foot leash. And so this request is basically to allow us to have funding to get new park rule signs, purchase of dog bag stations, and also to give us a staff person to assist because this is an extra responsibility that's being placed on our department. So that's the purpose of this.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
thank,
And that is our request, and we'll see what we get this.
thank you, good luck. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
It's over.
No.
No, this is just an update.
We don't vote on it?
Now my daughter's.
An update. Thank you for informing us, Director Crowe. All right, so now we're moving on to new business. The first item of new business should be in your packet. It's a letter that was drafted by Vice Chair Alex. Hopefully you had a chance to review it. If not, I'll give you a few minutes. This is in response to, for those who weren't at the special meeting, it was in response to the city's agreement to remove the basketball court and instead put in a pickleball court. And so on our behalf, he wrote a letter that we can then submit to the commission.
Motion approved.
I have a couple type changes, but I'm in support of it. So does anybody else have any? Where's my edits? How do I do this? I just say what my edits are.
Motion to approve subject to the following
Well,
edit.
say that the chair has not put it in closer.
There's just more clarification and that's substantial, so. Okay, all right, so my edit. And then we can do a motion, okay. Okay, so my first edit would be in the first sentence where it says during our latest monthly meeting for the parks. I would just put in the date of the meeting during our May 7th, 2025 meeting. The second edit is the third paragraph where it says, however, these signs have residents concerned, and so these signs, I would submit that we say the city's agreement to remove the basketball court and build a pickleball court. And that's it. Just more clarification that it's not that we're upset about the sign, right? It's about what they're trying to do to the basketball court.
What about, I agree, those after initial discussion? Just after
discussion, okay, so scratch initial, which paragraph is that? In that four. So after discussion instead of initial, the PREBA. Any other changes?
Is the picture of the sign going in the letter?
Yes, so, yes.
Can we say these signs?
Oh, he does say below. So in the first paragraph, he says, regarding the signage and notification regarding the basketball court conversion in South Beach, Fort Lauderdale, pictured here below. Did that suffice, or do you want to clarify more? The picture is gonna
communication to the commission, in the signs are not there currently.
no, but you want to include the picture of the sign in the letter.
Right, so when you're doing communication,
Yeah.
that's not gonna be a part of it. They're gonna read out.
Right. And just let you know the sign is not there.
Correct. Yeah, so what should it say?
Because
Any of
What you have now is somewhat.
Yes.
As opposed to how we see it. Like, And I conveyed this out to some people which did some. And so that's what we have.
So this is sufficient for communication? This is in line with the communication or no?
Take out the people that they're not gonna get.
Yes.
I recommend that you be pictured here below.
Okay, thank you. So in the first paragraph, we'll remove picture here below. Any other suggestions? Yes, Sean?
I was thinking it's a document discussion, strongly opposed to the basketball courts from the existing location.
Oh, yes.
Tell them that they're gonna move them somewhere else,
Mhm.
and they're not gonna be able to build them for years because they're not gonna get permits.
Okay.
So,
So we will add on 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth paragraph after discussion, comma, the PRP, EAB strongly opposes removing the basketball courts from the existing location, period. Yes. Did you have an edit, Marta?
I was, well, today we have it because the sign of council. Just stronger. But
Oh.
the way to say how many people work.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But I think I'm going to the name of this.
That's okay.
But also this paragraph, there are big plans for a big site for big investors. Status for that area. I cannot speak of the back and large,
Correct. You want to say that instead of area?
the back and large,
But it's not, it's across the street at the beach.
but I also watched that meeting,
Mhm.
so. I think. We
There's a
just
difference.
kind of went sit on and have big plans, big improvements, big investors, kind of not naming. What is it?
So there is a name for it, it's some type of development.
It is a back and large.
Do you know the name of the development, the big BMR development, something, something?
they created they created like an entertainment.
Yes.
Something that's really made the content not even just sole developers, but the developers of the.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, the point is to show that we're unified as a board and opposed to them
Yes,
removing the basketball court, so they know exactly what we're talking about. Or the area, they're familiar with the area that we're talking
Quick question. It says all board members agree. Do we know that's true?
about. So at that meeting, can you clarify, council, we didn't have everybody here, and so I said, can we do this on behalf of the board, and because,
Well,
but I didn't,
you can have that language here tonight because board members, and you have a forum.
Yeah.
So if the board members agree, then you can have that language, but if you all can come to an agreement, then
Right.
you have to.
Yeah.
use that language.
But so the agreement comes because there's a quorum, so last time we had a quorum, and that counted as all. But I can
Well,
say most,
To clarify,
or
so
some.
are you in agreement with the verbiage of the letter? The last time you voted was to send the communication.
Yes.
And
But now we're voting on the verbiage. of the communication.
So it says approved by all attending board members on the 7th, which is accurate. There was not, everybody wasn't present, but all of the board members present agreed.
I wonder if we just say the board, the board agrees. Yeah.
Okay, approved by. This communication to the city was unanimously approved by the board, or just say board agrees?
Oh, sorry. The third paragraph.
Third paragraph? Where are you?
However, these signs.
Oh, yeah. Board members agree, so scratch all, yes, in the third paragraph, that's a good edit, yeah, because that, yeah. Any additional
So
edits?
on the first paragraph, during our
We're gonna insert the date.
meeting, the discussion came up. How about we just take out regarding the signage and notification? So discussion came up regarding the basketball court conversion in South Beach, Fort Lauderdale, period.
So regarding, we're taking out the signage and notification regarding. Yeah, any additional edits? Is it closer to a communication that's acceptable for commission? I don't know, it's in another format.
No, I was just answering
Okay.
the numbers question.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay,
Whatever format you want.
okay.
I'm sure Carl can
We'll pass it along.
pass it along.
Okay.
We have those things.
Thank you. May I have a motion? Sean, yeah.
What's the motion?
Make a motion to approve the letter drafted
by Vice Chair.
by Vice Chair Alex,
With amendments.
with the proposed, or with the amended changes.
A sec.
Any further discussion? Do we need a roll call vote? Or can it be aye? Okay, can we have a voice vote? All in
Voice vote?
favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Any other new business? Oh, gosh.
So, as you know, as this board has been a part of the designated ordinance. So when this was proposed to the board, it focused on playgrounds and areas that could be designated.
Yeah.
I have consulted with, our attorney's office, which is focused. So I just wanted to.
Oh.
They feel that it's necessary to change that.
Thank you.
That's
That's a
it.
good
Yeah, that was
thing. Thank you.
Motion,
Anybody
motion.
else want to talk about iguanas? Anything else? All right, meeting adjourned.
That was electric.
Thank